What's going on, guys? Welcome to another cash game review session. Today we've got our boy Elias in his 10 zoom session on PokerStars. Firstly, I want to say a big thank you to everyone that's subscribed. We've finally got over 1,000 subscribers, meaning the channel is now monetized. So big love to all of you guys. If there's loads and loads of adverts in the videos, just let me know. I'll try and reduce it somehow. But yeah, make sure you subscribe, guys, if you haven't done so already. And as always, I hope you enjoy the video and I will see you in the next one. I barely even use my HUD, to be fair. I would, if it's up to me, I would color coordinate it as well. I think it just makes it a lot easier to look. So the reason color codes is good and labels is good is you can just have a quick flick at the table. If I'm deciding to open a hand under the gun, I'll look at everyone's 3-bet and I know the color for 3-bet will be red. So I'll just look at the red numbers on the second line and be like, okay, it's low. So I'm going to open this hand. And you know, when I see that they're all pink tags and they're all fun players, I'm more likely to open. So color coordinating for me makes it a lot easier when you're two-tabling zoom to focus on. Anyway, I'll try not to judge him. So 7-8 suited here versus the cutoff we are just calling. Pretty sure we could 3-bet this hand sometimes, and I like these hands to 3-bet. Big blind versus cutoff. It's mixing. Half the time it's 3-bet and half the time it's calling. The EV of those is going to be similar, but if we never 3-bet any of these hands, then we're only going to be 3-betting big cards, and so we don't have any coverage on middling boards. So I would mix in some 3-bets with these every now and then. The hands like King 6 suited, King 5 suited, King Jack off, Ace Jack off, even Ace Queen off, I think we can just do, you know, we can just call 100% frequency, to be honest with those. So just be wary that you can 3-bet these hands. And yeah, we flop pretty well here. Second pair and an open ender. So this is a board he should be checking on a reasonable amount. It's pretty good for the big blinds range. We're going to have a lot of pairs. We're going to have some straights. We're going to connect with the board a lot, so he should be careful. So I like his check. The fact that he's a fun player means he's probably just missed this board. This turn's interesting. He can have some queen X here. I'm okay with just checking here and check calling this hand. So betting doesn't really achieve much. If we're betting, we should bet for two primary reasons. One is a value and two is a bluff. This kind of doesn't really make sense for either, right? It doesn't really make sense to bet for value because we have third pair. Yes, he's going to have a lot of draws, but still it doesn't. And it doesn't really make sense as a bluff because if we bet a pair of sevens, he's never going to fold a better hand, right? He's not going to fold pocket eights or ace nine or a queen. So he doesn't fold anything that's better than a pair of sevens. So I think this works well as a check call. Just be wary when we are betting. The two primary reasons are for value and as a bluff. There's also like side reasons, I guess. Like, you know, for example, when we bet this, we get protection. You know, if he has a hand like ace king of diamonds, we protect from an ace or a king. So we deny equity to his hands that have a good amount of equity. So that's, you know, a bonus of betting. But in general, we want to stick to those, you know, reasons for betting. So when we have this kind of hand, I don't really want to bet because I also don't want to get raised off my equity. If he raises here, I think we'd have to fold. I think I'd like to see a check call here, but betting isn't terrible. And then we have a lot of these spots on rivers where, you know, we're just going to be in a pretty awkward spot. Okay. I actually don't mind this bluff. So when we look at river bluffs, we want to block their calling range, we want to unblock their folding range, and we also want to be quite low down in our range. When you consider this, we're relatively low down in our range. I think my favorite bluff here that I would take this exact line with would be 10 jack with the jack of spades or 10 jack with the 10 of spades, because we block flushes, we block queen X hands, queen jack and queen 10, and we're also quite low down in our range. The problem with betting this here is I think he's going to have some queen X that just calls. So the reason I don't really like bluffing with a pair of sevens is that we don't actually get that many better hands to fold. So when he folds quite quickly, we probably have the best hand. So the lower down in our range we are, the less showdown we have, meaning the better our bluff works. So when we bluff a pair of sevens, we're needing to get eights, a nine, a queen, or better to fold. When we bluff jack high, we need king high, ace high, pocket threes, pocket fours, stuff like that to fold. So I don't hate your line overall, but I think it's maybe just a little bit overly aggressive. So I think we should probably just check call the turn. And yeah, we're going to be putting some spots, but I've noticed newer players really don't like to check. Like even in boards like where they 3-bet and they get a bad board, they prefer betting as opposed to check calling. Just realize that we don't always have to bet things. We can check, and checking doesn't mean giving up. We can check call, or we could check raise, you know, some bluffs. So I think this is a bit of a sketchy bluff. I think that with a 7, we should check. With a 6, we should maybe bluff, and lower down, like 10 jack, we should bluff. But I don't hate your overall aggression because it's probably going to work in these pools. He's probably going to fold some stuff. Let's carry on. So, ace-queen suited. This will be a 3-bet. So, I take it, I'm hoping in the small blind we don't have any passive options. What I would suggest in the small blind, to you, McGowan, from the Jonathan Little ranges, ignore the blind versus blind. Don't have a limp in range blind versus blind, just have a raise or fold range. Doesn't really make sense to limp in high rake environments anyway, and at these stakes, it's obviously really high rake. So I'd really try and avoid just limping blind on blind altogether. So just have aggressive strategies from the small blind. This, I think, is perfect. 10 big blinds versus 2.5x versus button open. I think this is absolutely standard. Fours, we defend here. And I think mainly just check folding on this board is fine. I could get behind a check raise against somebody that just constantly c-bets. But I think it's very loose. So I think just check folding is the play here. So, we 3-bet here, and we get, this is an amazing board for our range here, so we can pick a large sizing on this board if we want. The reason why we'd want to be picking a large sizing here is just because of our overall range crushes his. For example, he shouldn't really have jacks, queens, kings, or aces, because he should be 4-betting those hands, so we've got a big advantage in the overpairs. Also on this board, it's not like he should have any 2x, maybe ace-2 suited, but that's kind of unlikely. But yeah, this is a pretty good board, so I think we can choose a large sizing here. And looks like you recognize that, which is good. It's kind of counterintuitive here because we don't really get that much worse. You know, we don't really get anything worse to call. This is a really good turn card. I think we want to be wary of what we do here. I think people go, oh, amazing and ace, but I think we want to be balanced on here. I'm going to see what you do here because honestly, when you bet, he's going to fold so often on this turn, which is good for our, you know, for a lot of our range. But I just think on this turn is, when we have a hand this strong, we want to just potentially check. As play, we just jam here. It's actually a shit river. He shouldn't really have ace-10 of hearts, but he does have ace-10 of diamonds. It's kind of weird, because when we bet that size on the turn, it's kind of difficult for him to call with a lot of hands. I wouldn't even hate checking this river in the hope of getting a bluff out of something like king, queen of spades. I can't imagine we get called by that many worse hands unless he's a big fish. And he can still have ace-king, in theory. Ace-10 are fucking absolute goon. I knew it was a bad river, but I didn't realize it for that. I am okay with the... Right, first of all, let's go over his play. His open on the button is the only thing that's okay here. His open on the button, 2.5x, I like it. Ace-10 off. Perfect. Versus this 3-bet, you need to put your hand in the fucking muck. In any case, so our 3-bet, perfect. Absolutely, this is exactly what I would do. C-bet, I think I would go a little bit smaller than 3/4. Even though this is a board where we can go 3/4, I'd probably go about 12 big blinds. I'd probably go about 12 big blinds here. But I think that doing this is fine. On the turn, I think I want to check ace-queen. So let's look at our overall range here, what hands we're going to have. We're going to have like 7s through to aces. We're going to have ace-king, ace-queen. We're going to have some suited Broadway, stuff like that. I think that we want to check some ace-x hands here. The reason being is that if we never check any of our ace-x hands here, then we are just always going to have hands like 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, kings, queens. And then we're also going to have, you know, maybe some like pocket aces. We can probably check hands like ace-5 suited, like ace-jack suited. To be fair, the higher up, the better ace I've got, the more likely I want to bet, because the more ace-x he can have that we crush. For example, if we start blasting ace-10 suited here, he shouldn't really have any worse aces other than ace-5. If we have ace-king, he can still have ace-queen, ace-jack, and apparently ace-10. So I think I want to check. I guess ace-queen is the line for me. For example, ace-jack, I'm always going to check. Ace-king, I'm always going to bet. Ace-queen, I'm kind of on the fence of, right? Because you have to understand that on this turn, he doesn't have that many ace-x. So, you know, is he really going to call down with like hands like pocket 8s when this card is so good for us? What I would suggest, though, with the turn sizing is to go smaller than this. The reason being is that when we bet this size and he calls, the stack to pot ratio is very, very small by the river. So I think we can go smaller than this. Probably even like 18 or 19 big blinds. Because then we can still bluff some rivers. But also we keep his range slightly wider when we have value, so we get called by more. The problem about tripling barrel this hand is... McGowan, what would you expect him to have to call a 3-bet, call the flop, call turn, and call a shove on the river? That's worse than ace-queen. What hands do you think he should have specifically? That's the thing, there's not that much. So when we bet on the river for value, or raise the river for value, you have to consider a couple of things. First of all, how likely is it our hand is the best hand? But then how likely is it he calls with a worse hand? So let's say the likelihood of us having the best hand is 100%. Or let's say we have aces, okay? The likelihood of us having the best hand is 99%. Let's say you can have deuces. But then we've also got to consider when we have two aces, the likelihood of him calling with a worse hand. If the likelihood of him calling with a worse hand is extremely low, then maybe we want to check the river to allow him to bluff. So when we jam the river for value, it's not like, if we don't get called, we've potentially stopped him from bluffing. So it might be a higher EV to check a hand, even when we have a very, very strong hand. So I'm probably going to check this river as played, because I don't think that there's that much that's going to call. I'm not saying shoving the river is bad because we have a strong hand. We're obviously checking with the intention of calling. The reason why I'd be checking, though, is not because I'm scared. It's because I want him to bluff. What bluff should he have on the river? The most obvious one is 5-6 of spades. 5-6 of spades is what I'd bluff on the river because I'm just so low down in my range and I have 6 high. So 5-6 of spades. Other than that, king queen of spades. He blocks ace king and ace queen. Calling the flop would be a bit loose but okay with the backdoor flush draw. And he turns the nut flush draw and misses. King jack of spades, maybe. Again, all of these are quite loose, but I think he's going to call those because he's just called ace 10 off. I know we don't know that. So, just when you're on the river, try and think about it for a minute. Don't just insta jam. For example, we can't just insta jam with our strong hands because we've got a strong hand. We've got to consider the likelihood of things. Even when we're bluffing, we have to consider the likelihood he's going to have a better hand. You know, let's say we've got like 10 jack. We have some showdown, so we have to consider how often he's got a better hand, as in how little showdown do we have, but also how often is he going to fold a better hand. So really try and think about that on the river when you're making these bigger decisions. Okie dokie, 8-9 suited here versus a 3-bet. I'm okay letting this one go for a couple of reasons. First of all, he's not got a full stack, and secondly, 8-9 suited. Solvers hate 8-9 suited. So the 8-9 suited we call, I don't think it's terrible. He was playing just under a full stack, but I think it's fine. I think this is fine. This is a shit board. We just need to be folding if he bets here. We go for a 3-bet with the ace king. I like the size and I think it's fine. There's argument to bet this and start bluffing this, but I think checking back and taking some showdown is okay as well. And now we're just going to check back. I bet he bets like quarter pot with jacks or something. That's what people tend to do. I feel as though he's just always going to have showdown here when he takes this line, but jacks. Oh, ace queen, wow, one of a few hands we beat. So yeah, I like this play with the 8-9. Definitely don't want to be bluffing here by the river. He's not going to fold a hand that's better than an 8. He's not going to call a hand that's worse than an 8. So it doesn't really make sense to bet. If we check the flop, which I think is what we should be doing most of the time, I like this line. Ace king here, interesting board. I think we can bet this a reasonable amount. He has 9s and 10s, but it's not like, you know, if this was 8, 9, 10, it's a lot sketchier. We do have the ace of hearts, so we have a backdoor flush draw. Not only, though, when we have the ace of hearts do we have a backdoor flush draw, but we can also represent a flush because we block flushes. So let's say the turn comes the 7 of hearts and the river comes a total brick. We can potentially turn our hand into a bluff because we have a reasonable amount of flushes. But I think betting with the ace of hearts is fine. And we can pick like around half pot here on this kind of texture. But I don't hate checking. Note this. Tag him, note him. That's what you should do right this second. So when somebody bets 52 big blinds here, first of all, they are a fish. Unless he's misclicked, which he could have done. But if you see this again, make sure you tag him. But not only that, let's say I have pocket 10s here. This is a really good board to c-bet. If I know that this guy is just going to fucking click 3-4x pot, then I'm always going to check this flop. So yeah, obviously we have a pretty easy fold. He made our decision somewhat easy for us. All right, fours open and blind on blind standard. Ace jack is the standard that we should be defending here. So let's have a look what we should defend versus under the gun. This is assuming it's against a 2.2x raise. So we do have to be a bit tighter versus a 3x. And we might want to consider the higher rake environment. Ace jack, pure call. I think that's fine. I think I'm always just calling here versus under the gun. Ace 9 I'd fold. Ace 5 I'd fold. I'm calling ace 10 even versus the 3x. Okay, ace jack, we check call versus a large bet. This is standard. Turn comes a 3, we check, and he just fucking snap blasts. This is really grim. I want to see what you do first. Fine with it. Just have to call the river now. I think we have to call this combo. And we're going to lose to pocket 8s when we lose. I don't even think people play ace king this way. I think we should call it. I really want to see what he's got. I think we have to call this hand, especially with a jack. A jack's actually really quite useful. If we're going to do this, just honestly fold the turn. So this is really, really tough. Like, this is going to be very opponent dependent. So from what I've noticed, when somebody overbets the turn and overbets the river a lot, it's very polar. They're going to have, specifically in this instance, pocket sevens, pocket eights, maybe pocket threes with the three of hearts, if they open that and if they pick a live sizing. I think his value range here should be 3 combos of 7-8, 3 combos of 8s, 3 combos of 7s, and two combos of... 1 combo of 10 jack suited, 10 jack of spades. I think having the jack of hearts actually helps you more than it hurts you. And I think that once we've called an overbet on the turn, we should call an overbet on the river. I'm going to fold on a reasonable amount of rivers, by the way. It's not like I'm just going to call turn with the intention of calling every blank river. But I think on a 9, when there's only now, I think 1 combo of 10 jack, I think we only lose to 3 combos of 7s, 3 combos of 8s, 7-8 suited is thin. On the other hand, we can have a lot of better hands here. So what hands should we also take this line with, right? Whenever we consider what we want to call on the river, we should consider how high or low in our range we are. For example here, if I have pocket 7s or pocket 8s, versus a large sizing, I'm probably calling. Versus an overbet on the turn, I am never ever raising. Because I want to have these very, very strong hands. And then on the river, we have an easy snap call. It's a tough spot. I think we should call the river. I really want to see what he's got. From my experience, when somebody overbets the turn and overbets the river on a board they have advantage on, and then they just fucking start jamming it in, they just have a lot of bluffs. And when they don't have bluffs, they don't have the more mergy hands like ace-king, and they don't have the top set blocker hands like aces. They'll have 7s or 8s every time for value. They won't have like top 2 hands because they bet smaller because of what they're trying to get called by. I think on this river, I think that I agree, Maka, but for the wrong reasons. I think that the 10 zoom pool, the people that are choosing overbets are going to be way more bluff heavy than value heavy. And I think that goes for everything. I think that goes for every single fucking stake. People learn about overbets and they're like, oh, overbets. Overbetting makes so many people fold turns. It makes so many people fold. So if your overbets make people fold way more often than they should, we should overbet bluff more than we overbet for value. If you want to fold the... do you know what? This is a fucking grim spot. This really is a grim spot. So here, this is one where I don't mind sizing up, and naturally people want to size up here because we blocked the top pair. So this is what I mean. Like, let's say the turn was like a deuce of hearts. We could overbet this hand, pocket 9s, because we unblock top pair and we unblock all of the draws. And they're the kind of hands people overbet with. They won't overbet hands like pocket 10s, even though in these overbet spots, solvers want to overbet pocket 10s. 15 here, I think we should go a little bit bigger, maybe. No, I think it's fine. But versus a 3x, maybe like go 16. You've got to consider that when we do 3-bet, when we squeeze, we should be going a little bit bigger because there's another person in the pot. So, you know, what's this? 4x would be... No, I guess this is fine. Ace Queen's interesting. We don't want to call. But what we could do... Yeah, go on. Make it 19.5. Well played, sir. Well played. Interesting when it goes call here with kings. I don't know. So when we're multi-way, we generally want to go smaller. We just need to be more honest. And they need to be more honest. And so we can't just go blasting in, you know, loads of money on boards we've got advantage on. Because we want to be betting smaller and thinner. But they also have hands that, you know, we're going to be beat more often. So we don't want to be picking these massive sizing. So on this board, if we were heads up, we could pick a large size. Because fuck it, we've got advantage. I think I'm just okay doing this because, you know, we're likely against 2 fun players. Yeah, I think this is absolutely fine. I could even consider checking. I think we can consider checking. Aces for sure, I think we should check. Just to allow random fucking nonsense. Because the thing is as well, when we bet hands like aces and kings, they're probably like going to call, let's say, 8s or 10s, but they're probably still going to bet that for protection anyway. So aces, I think we can check here. To balance. Because we're gonna have to give up with some hands. So yeah, I think we could maybe check kings. When we go lower down, queens and jacks, we need to protect more, right? Because if it goes check check and the turn comes a king, not only might we be beat now, it's also harder to get value from worse hands because we have a load of king x. Considered, I think I like folding the 9-5 suited. I think calling's a little bit loose. I don't think it's going to be a very high EV, but I think it's okay. The problem is being multi-way, we have to fold so much and never gets a chance to realize our equity. So if we're heads up, this is never even close to a fold. But because we're three-way, we're going to have to fold a lot. I think three-way 9-5 suited just doesn't work that well. And then we decide to, I thought you folded, and then you're about to fold. And then you thought, oh no, fuck it, I'll call. Honestly, I'm probably just folding. I think I am just folding on the flop. Not really many cards we can continue on. He's betting to 2 players, so we should be a lot stronger. And we just think about how many turns we have to fold on. We just don't get to realize our equity, which is why I think we should fold pre-flop. I think when we're multi-way, we need to be tighter pre-flop. It's not like people think, oh yeah, we're getting a better price, so we should defend loads more. It's like, this isn't a tournament where it's like, you know, we probably have to because we have to protect the money that we've got in. It's not really like that in cash games. The Jack-9 here, I think we can raise versus a limp. I think we want to be very aggressive versus limp. Sometimes we just take the pot down pre, and then other times we just get to put a lot of pressure on in position. I think blind versus blind, we can just raise a reasonable amount. Definitely raise here. Yeah, that's fine. But I think we could have raised pre-flop. Queen Jack off, I'm just never 3-betting. So button versus cut-off, we are 3-betting an absolute ton, to be fair. Queen Jack off is half borderline, so this is basically 25% 3-bet. I think this is a little bit too loose. If you're against somebody and you've got lots of hands and the fold to 3-bet is 90% plus, I think it's absolutely fine, if not standard. Here, I think we should probably just fold. It's so, again, Queen Jack off is just so borderline. It really doesn't have that much playability. It's more just like, oh look, we block like Queen's Jack, Ace Queen. Like, I really don't like it. I'm just really not a fan of Queen Jack offsuit. We go 3-way. We just want to check this. We desperately want to check this board. Yeah, no, check. Click that check button. Good. Okay, so the reason we want to check this board, we are actually desperate to see our equity here. Not only is it a really bad board for us that they can smack this, they can have all kinds of shit. You know, ace 10 suited, king 10 suited, queen 10 suited, jack 9 suited, 7s, 8s, 10s, 10-8 suited, ace king of fucking spades that doesn't want to fold. This is a very clear check as far as I'm concerned, not on the right, on the left. Because we have a gut shot. And, you know, I do always say that, you know, generally when we have equity in the hand but no showdown, we want to bet. 3-way in a 3-bet pot? No. Do we bet the turn with the jack 9? Yep, we go for a large bet. We want to bet loads of money, put loads of money in. I think 5's fine. Might go a little bit bigger. Pretty draw heavy board, but some draws do get there. 7's kind of shoddy. I guess we still go for value. He's just got a lot of jack X. He can have something like 7x of hearts here, but it is quite unlikely. I think going for a big size makes sense. And if we get raised, probably just folding. Just folding, even though it fucking sucks. Good luck to him if he's doing this with Queen 10. You really don't see it often enough. We have 10-8 here that we should always have. We should always raise the flop and bet the turn and bet the river. We could have maybe 9-7 of hearts. Kind of sucky here, but I really don't think you're seeing bluffs enough. The Queen Jack, I'm okay with checking the turn. We don't really want to get check raised. I'm fine doing this. It's kind of a tough spot with Jack 9. I don't think we have that many better hands that we can actually call with, that we raise flop, bet turn, and bomb river. So maybe from a theory point of view, we should be calling this, but fuck me, you just don't see bluffs enough. I'll be very, very, very surprised if I see a bluff here. Very surprised. In terms of value, I expect to see 10-8 and 7x of hearts. Do you know, I did actually think kings. That's a ridiculously thin raise. I was actually thinking aces or kings. I don't know why. That's a ridiculously thin raise. He's specifically targeting jack 9. And it feels so horrible when you call there as well, because even though his bet might not be winning that much in the long run, it feels so sick when you call the one fucking hand that you have that he's trying to target. It just feels like you just had your soul fucking red. And it's just like, oh my God. Like, if a fish does it, it's like, all right, well, they're just clicking buttons. But, like, if somebody that's, like, kind of a winning player does it, it's fucking nasty. Even though it might just be a bad bet because, like, what are we really going to call that's worse? So, yeah, I think that we should just fold because you just don't see enough bluffs like this. Especially at these stakes, man. You just do not see enough bluffs. I can forgive the call. We're getting 3-1. We need to be right 1 in 4 times. I just don't think we are. I'd be so surprised if I saw a bluff. Queen Jack here. I think we just want to check this river. He can still have better Queen X. What are you doing? What are you doing? Don't make me get annoyed at you. I think we just want to check here. So a few things we want to consider. How often do we have the best hand? But also, how likely is it he calls with worse? What worse is going to call here? Is pocket nines going to call? Probably not. Is jacks? Maybe. We block it. There's 3 combos. Ace 10? Unlikely. He still has king queen. He still has ace queen. Maybe some sets. I think check-in is the correct play here. And he has 6 high, so he wasn't calling with that. So what are you doing here with king 9 suited? Are you feeling frisky? Is that what's happening? So even if you don't know what hands to 4-bet bluff with, I don't hate 4-bet bluffing hands that seem too good to fold, but not good enough to call. King 9 suited is one of those hands. It doesn't feel good enough to call, but it feels too good to fold. I wouldn't hate a called 4-bet there. A called 4-bet? A 4-bet there. So I might have some ranges here. Let me see what I've got and see what it says we should defend to. Cut off versus button. King 9 suited is just pure calling. I do think that this is a bit loose in your average games at 10 and L, especially when the rake's higher and that people are probably tighter. So I think King 9 suited is probably a fold. I think that's fine. Here it's not 4-betting it ever. It's 4-betting King Jack suited, King 10 suited. But this is, again, like solved ranges that just try and get to an equilibrium. But like in terms of like actual equity against real life opponents, you're just probably not going to have enough. I wouldn't hate 4-betting. I think it's loose, but I think it's fine. I think you can probably go either way. If you think he's quite passive post-flop and you think he'll check a lot and let you realize your equity, I'm okay with calling. If you think he 3-bets way too much and always folds to 4-bets, I like 4-betting. If you think he's just a standard reg, maybe a bit on the tighter side, I'm okay folding. So I think we could do anything. And again, I want to try and get in your heads, guys, that we can exploit and go slightly away from theory when the play is right, when the dynamics are right. If we're against, you know, a really tight player, we might want to do other things to a really aggressive player. Nobody at 10 and L is 4-bet out of position with hands that can call 3-bets like King 10 suited, King Jack suited, King Queen suited. Well, they are, because I watched McGowan 4-bet Ace Queen. So, and that's a hand that most people would call. So, because this is the dumbest thing you can say, because it's just making ridiculous assumptions and generalizations of player pools that make you play like a nit because you just don't want to believe something is true. If you go, nobody does this. I've seen people do it. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've watched people send me these reviews and 4-bet King Jack suited. I've fucking watched people do it. What do you mean nobody does it? I've seen it. Literally seen it. So it's very, very dangerous. What are we doing flat in here with ace jack suited? So I think in these positions, we mainly just want to be 3-betting. Just 3-bet this. We can 3-bet flat. You're going to 3-bet ace 6 suited, but you're not going to 3-bet fucking... Alright, okay. A little bit confused there. I think calling... This is kind of dirt, actually, because of his stack size. I honestly think shoving's probably a higher EV than calling. I think shoving's actually probably better. I think I want to shove, then fold, then call because of his stack size. I would have just 3-bet pre, so I wouldn't have been in this spot, but this is weird. The a6 suited, I think folding is fine. I think calling would have been your worst option, especially when he picks a larger size, because when they pick larger sizes, we're getting a worse price on a call. Really like the check back with the ace jack of hearts here, and then we want to bet the turn and jam the river, and if he's got it, he's got it. The problem is here, he's going to have it. If he jams the river, he has it. He's got ace king, unlucky. Ace queen, same thing. Nobody bluffs like that. See what I did there? I don't like this play. 3-bet him, because it actually should knock him out the pot with ace queen offsuit. So we win the hand. As played, I think shoving is better than... I think shoving is better than calling. I think shoving is better than calling because we have fold equity in that he's not going to fold a better hand, but he sometimes folds and we win 100% of the time. And the equity that we have against his entire range for 3-betting is actually quite solid. So I think that flatting is the worst option only because of his stack size. If we were 100 big blinds deep, I think flatting would be absolutely fine. Sevens we open, blind versus blind we get 3-bet. I think we want to just call here. Maybe some argument for 4-betting, but reasonable flop for us as the caller. He is going to have more kind of nonsense here because blind versus blind, he can 3-bet like some random shit. So he can connect better than usual on this board. I think we just want to call here. Don't think it makes sense to raise. Let me see a king. This really sucks, but we're probably just going to have to check fold here. Maybe we could potentially think about check raising the flop. I think it's a bit mergy and a bit overly aggressive, but I wouldn't hate it. And on the turn, we just have to fold, even though it really sucks. Maybe against half pot? I think just folding is the right play here. Even though he can have a lot of natural bluffs here. Hands like Jack 9 suited. He can have like Ace Queen, Ace Jack, stuff like that. Queen Jack. I still think that just when you consider that all these hands have like 4 outs of the gutter, or, you know, 8 outs of the open ender, or whatever, maybe less if we have 2 sevens, and they still have overcards as well. I think that against, and considering that we only have a gut shot and a weak pair, I think folding here is fine. Okay, here's something else as well. When we pick 4-bets, we should pick hands that do pretty good when we get called, like King Jack suited. I think that at lower stakes in general, people are probably not calling as much to 4-bets as theory states they should. So the reason why we, like, if you look at some of the ranges I have here, for example, versus 4-bet. So look at what we should be calling according to these ranges I have. All this yellow is what we're calling versus a 4-bet, button versus cutoff. It's fucking, look, this is what we're 3-betting. All of this. Anything in white is what we're 3-bet folding. Look at how much we're fucking peeling to a 4-bet here. Look at how much we're supposed to peel to a 4-bet. 4s! A7 suited. I know I say don't make these generalizations, but I'm pretty sure that not enough people, we shall say, are 3-betting and then flatting this. So when we 4-bet, we want to pick hands that have really good equity. The reason being is that they should be calling a very wide range, so we still need some good playable hands. If you think they're folding a lot more, a hand like King Jack off becomes a better 4-bet because they're probably not going to call as much in position, meaning our playability of the hand doesn't matter that much. It's more about, you know, blockers and raw equity like King Jack. So I think King Jack off can be a reasonable 4-bet, even though GTO and shit doesn't say that it is. So we're supposed to, don't you dare call this King 7. I know it's tempting, but don't you dare do it. Now, my guess here is, and I might be way off, McGowan, my guess here is, because you are close to calling here, that you want to call, that when you're not doing a session for review, or that you're not focused, that you might end up calling here. So when you focus and you're really thinking about your pre-flop ranges, you're going to just be folding thinking, no, this isn't a call. But because like it looks like your intuition here is to call, my guess is when you're not focused, you'll probably end up calling here. I used to do that all the time with bad hands. And I get to the flop and be like, why am I in this hand? Like, I've just called because it was suited. So just be careful and make sure that you're focused. Jack 6 suited a bit loose in these positions. I'll be defending the... What? Well, 4-bet with 6-8 suited. Sorry, sorry, what's your blue tag? Your blue tag is Reg, and you have a note on him saying he called a 4-bet with 6-8 suited. Regs don't call 4-bets with 6-8 suited, McGowan. Get rid of it. And also, look what you've done here. Look what you fucking done here. How many times do I have to say this? Start getting up notes and doing random shit. And look, we fold King Queen. Doesn't seem like that much of a thingy, but we're losing EV by doing this. We're losing EV. Anyway, this is just too loose then. I mean, he's not a reg. But because you think he's a reg, we want to be folding more, if anything. We want to play pots versus fish. One of the 3 things I'm going to talk about in a video if I ever get to making it. The 3 things that will make you the most money in poker. Exploiting fish is one of them. Anyway, check calling flop's going to seem standard, but we should have just folded pre, man. This is just way too loose. I don't know why you've bothered. And he's not a reg. He's called a 4-bet with 8 high. 8-6. He's not a reg. Check call standard and probably just check fold in turn. Because we can have 6x, 5x of hearts, and we can have some ace-x, we can have hands like ace-10, ace-5 of clubs, stuff like that. We don't need to continue this low down, so very easy fold. But this should have been folded pre-flop. This is probably the biggest obvious mistake I've seen you do, McGowan. Just calling Jack 6. So let's actually have a look at the ranges for what it is. So this is versus middle position. It's probably not that far off, to be fair. We're probably defending Jack 7 suited. Middle position... Jack 6 suited, kind of borderline, but this is assuming it's against a 2.2x. This is a 2.7x, so it's bigger. So this is just definitely a no-go as far as I'm concerned. And you're playing against regs, why would you want to... Well, he's not a reg, but you think he's a reg, why would you want to play pots versus regs? Just when it's borderline, just let it go. Let him have your big blind. He's just going to not own you post-flop, but you're not going to get to realise your equity as much. If you can't realise your equity as easily, your EV is lower. If your EV is lower, don't bother calling. And 7s we should definitely defend. I know we didn't defend the 3s earlier. I think that just to keep, you know, enough hands. 7s is obviously a lot stronger as well. 7s plus, I would say, is a mandatory defend. maybe sixes as well. If you want to let go of the smaller pairs, I think it's fine. It's going to depend on your opponent, but sevens I think we have to call. And I think we have a pretty easy call here. It kind of sucks, but, you know, he can still have, you know, we still have reasonable equity against hands like ace-king here, especially without a club. We have a backdoor straight draw as well, and potentially the best hand. Drilling a set on the turn is kind of nice. This is interesting. I'm probably just calling. We don't have that much to protect from, so, like, in terms of 3-bet pots, more often than not, if we exclude pairs, players are going to have suited hands way more often than offsuit hands. So the kind of offsuit hands he could have here would be ace-queen, ace-jack maybe, and king-queen. But other than that, he's probably not going to have that many offsuit hands. So like he's probably not going to have that many of, let's say, just the queen of clubs. So we don't really have a lot to protect from. So equity denial isn't really that favorable here. So I think we just call with the sevens. There is argument for that, but what do you think he's going to just jam in here? Like, do you think he's going to just bet this flop, bet the turn, and then call a shove with like ace queen of spades? What are you specifically trying to target? That is a thing, by the way, that we do sometimes want to make sure that we're getting enough value before the board runs out shit. For example, if the river's the 5 of clubs or the 8 of clubs, he can check fold a lot of hands. But on monotone boards, considering that a lot of the hands we're going to call with are going to be either suited or a pair, what are we jamming here that ace queen or ace king is ahead of? Honestly, name one hand that we can jam here. I can think of one hand I would jam here that ace king is ahead of. And see if you can guess what hand I'm talking about. And the combo that I'm talking about. That I would jam here on this turn. You know, maybe you could have pocket sixes that bet calls this turn. But considering how often you're just going to get folds, as opposed to how often you're actually going to get called by a worse hand, it just doesn't make sense to do anything apart from call as far as I'm concerned. And you do call, which I like. And we see literally the best river in the deck. So the thing is here, like, he's kind of polar on the turn. He's going to have, like, flushes, you know, strong ace-x, and bluffs. So on the river, he's either improved slightly, and he's never folding, or he's just got absolute garbage. No, not ace-5. I wouldn't shove ace-5. There's no point. Pocket fives with the 5 of clubs would be my bluff on the turn, because I'd have to find... The thing is, I'm just calling the turn. I'm probably not doing any raising on a monotone board on the turn. So I'm probably... If I was going to bluff and balance it by shoving... No, yeah, I probably would, because I'd probably jam 6-7 suited. Would even, yeah, I'd probably jam 6-7 suited, so my bluff would be pocket fives with the 5 of clubs. And then we just jam river, just jam at this stack depth. Even though it's so hard for us to have bluffs, I guess maybe king queen with the king of clubs specifically, but just jam. I just knew he was gonna snap fold. Just with this line, like how quickly he checks the river, it's just like it's such a give up here from him, just from experience. This just feels like a give up. So. Maybe there's argument, you know, from an exploitative point of view, if we think he doesn't have anything to bet mega small, like 12 big blinds, see if he wants to induce. But I think just shove in here. And I feel as though he's just going to fold a lot. Because if he has ace king, ace queen, he's probably going to jam. If he's taken it, if he's played it this way, if he has a flush, he's always going to jam. But yeah, it's not actually the dumbest thing in the world to bet something like 11 big blinds with the intention of inducing. What? We got jack 7 off? Absolutely not. Versus middle position. And people just think, oh, it's a min raise. I can call. I'm getting 4-1. Be tighter when we're multi-way. Like, this is just really bad. Like, it's a shit hand. Not playable at all. And because we're 3-way and out of position to 2 players, it's harder to realize your equity. I couldn't even get behind it if the small blind had called, because then you're at least in position to 1. But this is really, really bad, this call. I hope you have stopped it, McGowan. Don't make me shout at you. Ace-9 in the cutoff is literally the bottom of the ranges for bluff the spot. It's the bottom of what I'd open in the cutoff in terms of offsuit ace-x. And I think 3-way we can bet this for maybe a third. I wouldn't hate checking. It's our worst ace that we're going to have here, other than maybe say ace-5 suited. But there's a lot we can get called by. There's a lot of bad turns. I think we want to pick smaller sizes in general multi-way. So I think this is a bit on the large side, but I think it's okay. Still going to get called by a reasonable amount of hands. King on the turn's not great. I think checking is good, yeah. He definitely has king queen. He's got some king x, like king 10, but also has like 10 jack. And I'm probably checking this turn, this river. Maybe we can make argument for bet. I don't hate betting small here against a potential fun player and getting called from ace-5 suited or like king jack or stuff like that. It's really dumb. I really don't see him having that many flushes, but like, I fail to see what he's going to bluff in this spot. Even 4-5 gets there. I think we just have to fold because I just think we're beat. I can't think of any hands that you could have other than King 9 of hearts and King 8 of hearts and 4-5 of clubs. Maybe Ace Deuce suited. You don't see enough players betting, for example, Queen 10 with the 10 of hearts here as a bluff, which I think would be a fine bluff because you're actually quite low down in your range. Maybe he shouldn't even have 7s or anything like that. I think I'd probably just fold here just from experience of, even though he's not actually repping that much because a lot of flush draws should bet the turn, I think he just has a flush. And we don't block any of the strongest hands anyway. I think he just has to have a flush. Maybe just something like 7-8 suited decided to check the turn. Maybe I'm going to look like a knobhead now, but like I can't imagine this call's making money, especially when he bets pot. What's he doing? Why does everyone make me look like a knobhead on this when I'm like, oh, he just doesn't have... He's not going to be bluffing here. Like, I don't mind his bluff on the river for what it's worth. I actually don't mind his bluff on the river. He's low down in his range. It's fine. Why is he calling the flop? I'm going to bet into 3 people on an ace queen 3 and you've got pocket 8s with a player left to act with no heart. Maybe I'll hit an 8 on the turn. Mong. I am honestly okay folding 7s here. And we just drill a set. It's a large 3-bet. People probably aren't 3-betting as much as they should in general. It's very hard to realize our equity. I honestly don't mind folding 7s versus a larger 3-bet and just continue probably 8s plus. As played, we call, we flop as set, and let's just put money in. When you're against fun players, you've got good hands, you mainly want to put money in. Let's go for a check raise. We can balance this very easily. We can have 8-9 suited, 8-9 of diamonds, 4-5 of diamonds, 5-6 of diamonds, 9-10 of diamonds, loads of good bluffs, and we can just, you know, build our range around 7s and 6s. And I'm just jamming turn. Yeah, nice. Really like the jam. So I see a lot of players want to bet small here because they're like, oh, I've got such a strong hand, I don't want to get him to fold. But like if he has like king, queen, king, jack, ace, king, stuff like that, he's just always going to call. Some of our bluffs might pick up equity and we're still going to jam. Like if I've got 8-9 of diamonds, I'm just banging it in with just so much equity. Potentially can get, you know, 10s, jacks and stuff to fold. So yeah, really like this with the 7s. This is just how you want to play it. And he's got 2 outs, things you love to see. Even if he had the same stack size as you, I could be okay with it. But if he had the same stack size as you, I would want to be raising bigger here on the flop. 24, 23. I think we should go 24 or 25 here. This looks so strong because it's quite a small raise. I think if we were deeper, I'd be going 27 big blinds and he calls, and then there's another 8 big blinds in. So the pot would be 70, we'd have 82, and I'd just be jamming anyway because it's just over pot. So I'd make it slightly bigger if we had the same stack, if we were both a little bit deeper, and then I'd be jamming the turn anyway. And then he's still forced to call with aces. Like, his line is absolutely fine. But what you were saying before about, you know, getting the money in before a diamond comes, let's say we bet really small on the turn and then it comes a diamond on the river, it's harder to get the money in. So that's why I like this kind of line. So easy money. 9-7 suited. I don't really like this against a fun player who's not playing a full stack. But I do think that it's technically okay. But so yeah, very thin amount. But then we're still calling sometimes with like 8-9 suited. I'd just pure 3-bet 8-9 suited, or you know, pure 3-bet 10-8 suited and stuff. But these hands are okay to 3-bet every now and then. Problem is he's a fun player, so he's probably calling a lot more. We don't really want them to call when we have these hands. We want them to fold, to be honest. Folding, like them folding is the best case scenario. But obviously we want to have good equity and stuff when we go post-flop. When we're against fun players not playing a full stack, not only do we have less implied odds because there's less money we can win when we do hit a strong hand, but also they're probably going to fold less because they just want to play pots in position. So I think this is too loose against a fun player here. Yeah, he'll probably just say it's a pure fucking 3-bet. Yeah, fuck it. I'm just giving up here now. Just forget about it. Just give it up. Against a fun player, I just can't be bothered. I don't like 9-7 specifically either for a couple of reasons. We block 9s and 7s, which are hands we can start putting pressure on. And secondly, we have way better obvious bluffs. We have like ace queen, ace jack. We have queen jack. Like queen jack's better because we block king queen. We block king jack. We also have an open ender. Here we've just got garbage. This is just random aggression against a fish. It'll probably work because he'll probably just call the flop with nonsense. But let's do it with 9-7 of hearts. Let's do it with queen jack. Let's do it with fucking whatever. Also, again, when we check, we're not necessarily giving up. We are on the turn, but let's say we check and he checks back. We can still bluff the river when that happens. It's still a thing. I hope you get jammed on here, just to teach you a lesson of just random aggression. Good. Now what? Fuck it, you might as well jam. You're at the bottom of your range. Can't have a worse hand than 9 high, can you? Get wrecked, sir. That's another thing. Like, we don't block any of his... So he's going to float because he's a fish. And then we don't even block any, like, 10x. Like, and we're drawing dead to 10 jack. We are drawing dead to a pair of 10s. When we have queen jack, we have so many more outs. We can hit a queen. We can hit a jack. We can hit an ace. We can hit a 9. When we pick bluffs on flop and turn, we want to pick our best bluffs. Best bluffs, hands with no showdown, but with equity. When we're on the river, we want to pick hands that, you know, we might be low down in our range, or we block some strong hands. I wouldn't even hate jamming this on the river. I wouldn't like it, but I wouldn't hate it. I hate the turn barrel. Again, random aggression. And we're against a fish. He could call fucking 5, 6 of diamonds here, which would be fine, because then at least we've got overcards. Don't, just this whole line, I just think is random aggression against a fun player. You know, do this against your nit regs. Do this against nit fish. Not against a guy not playing a full stack, like, who's just fucking clearly gonna call shit. I know it's not many hands and stuff, but yeah, this is just random aggression. There's just no need for it. Queen 10 suited here, we could probably 3-bet. I think that'd be reasonable. Kings, we get 3-bet. We just mainly want to 4-bet here. We are a bit deeper. He should be 3-betting his entire range is continuing with, so we should be 4-betting. Actually, a bit wide here to punish. We can choose a reasonable amount of 4-bet bluffs. We're a little bit deeper here, so I think going 25 would have been slightly better, but I think this is fine. I think this is okay. Easy call. He's got ace king. Jacks. We like him. We like him. So he should just be calling a lot in position there with a lot of his range. So he can call hands like aces, queens, jacks, ace, kings, shit like that. So yeah, he's a fun player though, so that's really good for you. But he should just be calling from a theory point of view. And he can just call like his strong hands as well, his stronger hands, even aces and kings. Or maybe he can jam ace, king and kings. Solvers like to jam ace, king and kings and then flat some aces, queens, jacks, stuff like that. Ace 10 suited, we open, big blind defends. This is a board we want to be very careful on from a theory point of view. It really smacks the big blind range. I am just mandatory checking this flop back. Why are we betting pot? What is this? What are we trying to achieve? This is so random. What is this? This is just... Is this because it's the end of a session and you're just not focusing, or do you think that this is a good play? Thought it was 3-3-5. Well, you need to fucking pay attention. Even if it's 3-3-5, I'm not betting pot. He still has some 3x. It'd be better. But this is a sketchy board. Don't bet pot. We don't even have the backdoor flush draw. I'd just be checking this back, seeing if we can realise our equity. That was dumb. Not going to lie to you, McGowan. That was dumb. Didn't like that. You like your Jack 6 suited, you, don't you? Why do you buzz off calling Jack 6 suited against regs? Now, this is probably just about okay versus cutoff. Maybe. Okay, it's allowing it versus the cutoff. What size was this? 2.7. Again, this big... Why do you love Jack 6 suited against this guy? What is it about this guy? Genuine question. Do you want to stack this guy? Is your ego getting involved here? That you don't like this guy and you want to stack him? Is that why you moved it? Because you wanted to see his name? To make sure it was him. Genuine question. I put money on it. That you really want to fuck this guy. Look, you've even just checked his name. And you've been like, it's this cunt. Let's get him. Let's get him. Stop it. He's also not a reg. Change his tag. He called a 4-bet with 8-6. I think your ego is getting involved, man. Forget about your fucking ego. Forget about thinking people are just attacking you. Like, they just always... You know when, like, somebody 3-bets you 3 times in a row and then you just 4-bet and they just jam and you're like, oh my god, he's just owning my soul. He's just fucking got aces, man. I hate him. I hate him, but no, I don't play too different. Yes, you do. I've just watched you defend fucking Jack 6 suited against him twice when it's borderline. Wouldn't surprise me if Jonathan fucking I'm a sick reg little says it's a fold. I don't hate betting the turn for value, by the way, because we just always have not always have the best hand. He can have like overpairs and stuff, I guess. This is grim. I think you can go either way here. I think folding's fine. Oh, and that was it. So, Right, McGowan, I think you played pretty solidly throughout that. I have no doubt in my mind that you'd be beating 10 Zoom. I think that, I don't play 10 Zoom, but from what I've seen, it seems soft enough that you'd be able to beat that. It seemed like you were staying focused-ish, which I thought was fine, but just be careful. Even the little thing with the King 7 suited, just make sure you stay focused. I know I tell everybody that, but make sure you stay focused. But yeah, I think you played okay. I can't really remember what we talked about in some spots. There was some random aggression. That 9-7 of clubs I really didn't like. I think that was a mistake because we're just randomly putting money into the pot. We're just like, I've got nothing, please fold. There's no real reason to your bluff. When you pick bluffs, make sure that you try and have a reason behind it. What are you trying to target to get to fold, right? Like, what are you trying to target? What are you trying to represent? What hands do you block? You know, what equity do you have? Just be a bit more selective with your bluffs. You don't have to bet all the time. You don't have to c-bet when you've got a good hand. You can check raise or check call. You don't have to c-bet on, you know, a board where you've got no equity. Like there was an ace-10 off earlier on a queen something something, 2 clubs who had ace-10 no clubs. We don't have to c-bet that, okay? We can just check fold and we can protect our range by check raising or check calling some strong hands as well, right? Pocket queens, we could check sometimes. I do think mainly you want to bet against, you know, fun players at lower stakes, but we can check, just remember that. And in river spots, for example, that ace-queen early on, just make sure that, you know, when we're betting on a river, if we're betting for value or jamming for value, you've got to consider how often do we have the best hand? How often can somebody call with a worse hand? If they can never call with a worse hand, consider checking to allow them to bluff and stuff like that. We don't always have to, you know, be betting if someone's left to act.